Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something absolutely fascinating, the rich, expansive context of traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM. When we talk about medicine today, it's so easy to just think in terms of these really immediate short-term frameworks, right? Like a quick 15-minute doctor's visit, a written prescription, and you're out the door. But to truly grasp TCM, we have to zoom out. I mean, way, way out. We're talking about a system of health that's been observing the body, thriving, and adapting for roughly 5,000 years. So, what exactly are the factors that shape this context? And how do those ancient factors influence the way it's practiced in our modern world? Let's jump right in and find out. Here is our roadmap for today. First, ancient philosophical foundations. Second, 5 millennia of history. Third, schools of TCM thought. And finally, modern Western integration. Okay, the absolute most crucial point to start with is just defining what we're actually looking at here. Traditional Chinese medicine is a completely unique health system. It is not, and I can't stress this enough, it's not just some loose collection of folk remedies. It's a highly formalized, distinct understanding of the human body, of what it actually means to be healthy and how disease operates. It's rooted in these incredibly ancient texts, and the evolutionary timescale is just massive. To put that into perspective for a second, Chinese medicine was already formalizing these super complex systems like pulse diagnostics, while a huge chunk of the Western world was literally still in the Bronze Age. Crazy, right? And TCM didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It is deeply, deeply intertwined with Chinese culture, sharing these foundational concepts and treatment modalities that have been passed down through countless generations. Let's dive right into Section 1, Ancient Philosophical Foundations, the ecological roots of TCM. You simply cannot separate traditional Chinese medicine from classical Chinese philosophy. They are totally intertwined. And these aren't just lofty, abstract ideas. They are the foundational factors influencing the very core of the practice. Basically, TCM is rooted in 3 major schools of thought. First up, Daoism. Daoism brings this really strong emphasis on living in harmony with nature and tuning into the natural flow of the universe. Then we have Buddhism, which contributes deep perspectives on the mind, on human suffering, and overall balance. And finally, Confucianism, which is all about order, harmony, and societal relationships. When you put all of these together, these philosophies formed the actual worldview that built the framework for TCM. It essentially treats the human body as a microcosm, a mini version of the larger universe. And all of that results in what is fundamentally an integrative, ecological, and functional medicine system. Because TCM was born from philosophies that view absolutely everything as interconnected, it adopted these ecological and functional concepts thousands of years ago. It literally looks at the body as an integrated ecosystem. And what's so amazing to me is that TCM was operating on these principles millennia before terms like integrative medicine or ecological medicine became these popular buzzwords in our modern health discourse. They were way ahead of the curve. Moving on to Section 2, 5 millennia of history, tracing TCM across time. If we really want to understand the context of TCM today, we've got to look at its incredible endurance. I mean, going back over 2,500 years ago, that's where we see the ancient origins, where classical medical texts were first being compiled. To ground that massive timeline a bit, think of monumental works like the Yellow Emperor's Inner Canon. That was compiled during the Han Dynasty, and it codified so much of this knowledge. Then, as we move into the imperial eras, TCM wasn't just some alternative medicine on the fringes. It was the official medical system of the powerful Chinese dynasties. It shaped healthcare, culture, society, the whole shebang. Jumping forward to the 20th century, we see this big period of modernization and systemization. TCM was formally organized so it could sit right alongside Western medicine. Talk about a system that has constantly adapted to survive, right? And throughout that massive historical timeline, certain core cosmological concepts remain deeply, deeply embedded in both Chinese culture and its medical practices. We've got qi, which you can think of as the vital energy, or that dynamic life force flowing through the body. We have yin and yang, the whole concept of dual complementary forces that are constantly trying to maintain balance, and the 5 elements, which is basically a system of categorizing the phases and relationships you find in both nature and human physiology. Now, these aren't just dusty historical artifacts. These ancient concepts survived the millennia. They are literally the active beating heart of TCM diagnosis and treatment today. That brings us to Section 3, Schools of TCM Thought. Diverse clinical approaches. Okay, it is really important to shatter a common misconception here. TCM is not just one single monolithic system where every single person practices exactly the same way. Not at all. Over time, different schools of thought developed to explain and treat illness, and they emphasized totally different dimensions of health. For example, some schools focus heavily on structure, looking really specifically at the organs and the meridian pathways. Other schools focus more on process, zeroing in on the flow of qi and blood. And still others emphasize etiology, focusing on external pathogens or internal deficiencies. But here's the key takeaway. Most modern practitioners aren't locked into just one mindset. They actually dynamically integrate these multiple schools of thought in their clinic, shifting their approach based exactly on how the individual patient presents. It's an incredibly adaptable, flexible system. Which leads us perfectly into Section 4. Modern Western Integration. Ancient wisdom meets contemporary biomedicine. Right now, we're witnessing this massive, growing global trend, the integration of traditional TCM principles with modern Western medical conceptions. It's fascinating. On one side, TCM provides this highly holistic, individualized approach, right? It's looking at the entire ecological balance of the patient. But then on the other side, Western medicine utilizes a very rigorous, evidence-based biomedical framework. And what we're seeing today is not a battle between the two. It's not an either-or situation. It's actually a synthesis. Health systems all around the world are combining these two totally different paradigms to create complementary treatments, really fostering a truly holistic approach to healthcare. So where are we seeing this integration happen most effectively? Well, in many countries, TCM practices, things like acupuncture, herbal therapy, and dietary adjustments, are actively being used alongside conventional care. They're proving particularly successful in a few key areas: treating chronic pain, supporting patients going through oncology and cancer treatments, assisting with fertility issues, and managing stress-related disorders. It's a really pragmatic, best of both worlds approach. You're using the ancient tools that work best right alongside modern biomedical interventions. But what's actively driving this modern integration? Well, there are three critical steps happening right now in the industry. First, we're seeing a huge increase in scientific research that's actively working to validate TCM methods using modern metrics. Second, there's a rise in collaborative clinical models. We're literally seeing TCM practitioners and Western doctors working side by side in the exact same hospitals. And third, the formal regulation of TCM practitioners is ensuring really high standards of safety and education. Now, sure, philosophical differences between the two systems definitely still remain, but this integration is thriving because both sides share the exact same ultimate goal: improving patient outcomes through safe, effective, and patient-centered care. And that leaves us with a pretty profound thought. Today, we've seen how a 5,000-year-old system, a system deeply rooted in the philosophies of Daoism, Buddhism, and Confucianism, has survived entire dynasties. It's adapted into diverse clinical schools, and now it's actively integrating with cutting-edge Western biomedicine. It really represents this incredibly exciting chapter in the evolution of medicine. So as we look ahead, here is the big question to chew on. How will these ancient, ecological medical philosophies continue to shape the future of modern global healthcare? It's a fascinating question for sure, and one that researchers, doctors, and practitioners are answering every single day. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep asking those great questions.